Welcome back to another episode of We Are the Ones podcast. This is the podcast where we have extraordinary conversations with extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm so excited to be here today, Aviance. How are you? First of all, how are you, Aviance? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm feeling some type of way because you know how usually I go to my girl, Miss Eye Candy, for something, and her shop got vandalized this past week.
I saw that. Yeah.
So I really hope that the community gathered and, got things together for her because that was just a terrible situation.
We've been seeing like a wave of Black businesses specifically being vandalized. And we got to make sure that we are, throwing our support and kind of rallying around these folks.
Absolutely.
Because it's just nonsense that this stuff is happening, but the great thing, the one thing that I love about it, there's nothing to love about it being vandalized, right. But I'm saying the way the community does rally around
together,
and rally together and around situations that happen like this.
Absolutely.
It's pretty remarkable to see.
So Miss Eye Candy, keep your head up. We got you, girl.
Y'all still go out and support Miss Eye Candy, 85 Allen Street, downtown Buffalo. Please, y'all make sure y'all go out and support her. She's doing some amazing things. She has some amazing pieces in her store. She be getting you right every single week.
That's why I'm like, y'all messed up my schedule right now. But I really hope that everything's going well on that end, though.
Yeah. You just had an amazing birthday weekend.
Oh my gosh!
I saw. I got left out of the festivities.
Yeah, I know. I had to make it a all girls thing.
There was no listen. I was definitely about to call you out today because I looked at the Facebook posts and the social media posts and I saw some dudes there and I was just like.
That was Erica's cousins. That had nothing to do with me, though. That had nothing to do with me.
She left me out, y'all.
No, it wasn't even like that.
I was supposed to attend the game night, and it was supposed to be an all-girls weekend after that.
1 in the morning, you had school.
I could have brought him with him. Well, yeah. He would have been sleeping right in that room.
That's what he thought.
But no, I'm glad. It looked like y'all had an amazing time.
Yeah, we did. So
weekend.
thank you for letting Sally out.
Yeah, of course. Listen.
Thank you for letting my Sally out.
She got to breathe every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, praise God that you know that.
Yeah, of course. So now I'm glad you had a good time.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was amazing. I got a chance to spend it with my little man.
I know.
And he's just so fun. Yeah, he's so fun.
Yeah.
So we were just hanging out. He was with his grandparents most of the day on Saturday.
Okay.
But on Sunday and Friday we were together, and it was just us, and we were just
you had a ball.
We were having a good time. We were
know.
watching the game together. We
watched the game together.
So
that's why the Bills
chill.
won. I was like,
listen, every time somebody's at my house watching the game with me, the Bills always win. Always. It's that, or anytime I actually go to a game.
That's true.
I've never been to a Bills game and they lost ever.
Right, that's true.
So that's what I'm like. I'm telling y'all, Buffalo Bills executives, front office, what's up with them passes, them season passes. If we go to the Super Bowl, y'all need to have me there.
You gotta be there.
I gotta be there. So. But no, other than that, the weekend was pretty amazing, and I'm just happy to get back into this week, and I was really excited to get into today and recording today because. We have an amazing, amazing guest with us today. I got to introduce her.
Please do.
I have to introduce her because
roll out the red carpet.
This phenomenal woman and I go back a little bit during our time in government together. When I was working in government, she came in as an intern, right?
Wow.
And I knew from the very first interview. And I think I told her this too. I was like, yo, you are phenomenal. You're going to be a rock star.
You knew me for like 3 minutes.
Yeah, literally.
Oh my
it's just in that 3-minute conversation.
Yeah.
I was just like, I just saw something in her. I'm just like, she's a phenomenal. I was like, there's no way we're going to let her get away. She has to come be with us, in the situation that I was in at the time. So she came in and just completely turned the place upside down, in a good way.
Of course.
In a very good way. I had left and went on to, different roles, and, she assumed the role that I had, and she just took that thing to a whole nother level. Okay. I mean, when I tell you, she did that role 10 times better than I could have ever done it. You know, she was just absolutely phenomenal in that space. And then she's since had transitioned, and now she is the first executive director of EForAll Buffalo.
Yes.
You know, EForAll is an amazing organization that we're going to talk about. You know, really tapping into like the business ecosystem and entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Absolutely.
For specifically for women and minorities. It's for everyone, but you know, specifically for women and minorities, and
even for yours truly.
Yeah,
we're
going to talk about that.
Yes.
We are going to talk about that. So, she has been a dear friend of mine. You know, we have a personal relationship outside of the business relationship. Her family is just she has a beautiful family. And I'm just so grateful just to be able to call her a friend, a sister. And I'm so grateful to have the amazing Miss Juweria Dahir on the podcast.
Thank you for coming. I'm so excited that you're here. Seriously.
I'm so happy to be here.
No, we're happy to have you. Yeah, and listen, Juweria she's super private. And I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this, but she, you know, she looks amazing. She just had a baby boy not too long ago, a couple of months ago, and he is such a beautiful, beautiful young boy.
Oh my goodness!
And you know, adding to the already, you know, family of just all boys in the house. She's like the ultimate boy
we
mom.
We didn't have enough boys.
Yeah,
that was the problem.
Yeah,
all boys.
It's all boys in the house. Okay. So that's how it was with my mom. You know, it was like my mom and my 3 brothers. You know, so
all boys.
It was all boys in the house. You know, so but you know, she's you know, she was out on leave for a bit, and recently went back, and you know, I know people are really excited to have you back. Because you've done some amazing things with EForAll since its inception here.
Absolutely.
What was that? August of 2021 that it came?
Around May.
May? Yeah, okay, yeah. May. Yeah. So no, August was the first event that I think I helped you guys with. You know, so but yeah, around May 2021.
The launch was then.
Yeah.
And there was no EForAll before that.
No, it was nothing.
I was the first person.
You're literally the first.
Wow.
When we talk about first generation, you know, people that's bucking trends and everything. Like she is the epitome of a change maker.
Yeah.
Change maker was the first award I got since coming to this country. So, you know that, right?
Yeah, I remember you told me that. Yeah. So, and what she's talking about is the Change Makers 30 and the 30 awards that we host every single year, where we honor 30 individuals under the age of 30. And I think I told her at her interview. At her interview, I was just, and I'm not supposed to do that, you know, because I try to keep it very, you know, like I try not to have real involvement when it comes to, you know, selecting people and such, because I don't want it to come off as bias.
Right.
You know, but sometimes you just got to make executive decisions. right. And she was one that I had to make an executive decision for, because I just knew that she's a force to be reckoned with here, you know, so, and again, she had only been in this country for a few years, you know, right, prior to even getting that award. So
I can't wait to dive into that.
No, I had only been, when was the award? Was it 2015?
2015, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I came in 2013.
Yeah. So first award, you know. So me and Juweria, we're gonna be connected forever, connected to the hip. You know. So, but no, thank you again for coming. So we just want to, you know, kind of dive into your story, talk about EForAll. So let's just kind of go back, right? Because again,
back in time,
so you know, you came to this country, you know, like you said, 2013. Prior to that, you know, you lived in London, you lived in Germany.
I'll talk about all of that.
Yeah, you lived everywhere. So let's dive into the story a little bit. Like, what was Juweria pre 2013?
So let me take it all the way back to the 90s. So I'm ethnically East African. I was born in the region between Somalia and Ethiopia. And post-colonialism, a lot of the kind of the lines that were drawn are in areas where communities are still pretty much in tension. It's on agriculture land. It's on land that divides different tribes. So there's a lot of tension there. So by the time I was born in 1992, there was so much tension that my parents had to flee out. And so my parents were amongst the people who were privileged enough to leave. I think for people who couldn't, that's also another disadvantage, right? So we went outward. And the first stop we made was Italy. And my mother explained to me that we stayed there for about 3 days. And part of that was just a transition of just trying to migrate outwards.
How old were
Europe.
you? Were you at the time?
I wasn't even one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was like maybe 9 months, 8 months old. Yeah. Italy at the time, unfortunately, it wasn't really welcoming or open to accepting like new immigrants in the way where they didn't have a really solid asylum and a refugee system. And it was just easier to get single people working and living in Italy. So if you had a family, it was very tough to stabilize there.
Mhm.
So it was a 3-day stop, and then we settled in Switzerland. I know this is crazy. We settled in Switzerland. My mom is in her 20s, bear in mind. She's like leaving this whole country for the first time, doesn't speak a single language,
Oh my god.
doesn't have high school education. She leaves, and then we settle in the rural parts of Switzerland. The city that we stayed in, the village is called Männedorf, and Männedorf is part of Zurich. So the language that I speak is Hochdeutsch, which is it's High German. That's if you translate it. That's what it's called.
High German?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's almost like, think about the Americans and the British. You know how the British think they've got the kind of the more posh version?
Yeah.
That's what Swiss is. So it's like the high version. You know, so you say, ich spreche Hochdeutsch. It's I speak High German. Whereas the Germans would just say, ich spreche Deutsch.
I can't even do it. I sound so ignorant right now.
A little bit.
So yeah, and we moved to the rural parts because my mom was a farmer. And I mean, that's the best type of entrepreneur, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
So she knew how to farm. So she was like, if I move to a country where I don't know the language, I can make a living by farming.
Yeah.
So she farmed away, and we lived there for about 11 years.
Wow.
So your dad wasn't with you?
No, my parents, unfortunately, then parted ways.
Okay.
I think between the movement, the relocation, just really all that stuff that was happening, that change, their marriage did not survive. So my father actually moved to Canada. So he really never lived with us in Switzerland. So it was really my mom raising us. So talk about strong women and the stuff Black mothers go through.
So when you say raising us, how many?
Oh, there was 3 of us. So my brothers and I'm the only girl. I have 3 brothers, and myself, there's the 4 of us. Yeah, she did this solo.
All by herself without knowing the language.
No language, no high school education. Never traveled outside of her country.
Wow.
She was always in Somalia, and that was it. This was the first time. She's in her 20s.
So your older brothers, were they going to school at first before y'all moved, or did they start their school?
No, we're kind of back to back. So my oldest is 3 years older than me. The other one's 2.5 older than me almost. And then the other one's younger than me.
Okay, so y'all all started school in Switzerland.
Switzerland was our first kind of formal education.
Okay,
yeah.
So how was that? Because now you have friends and everything there, and they're...
Yeah, I was about to ask about that.
That's where I found out I was Black for the first time. So
no, really?
Yeah,
I was about to ask that. Yeah.
Okay.
That was my experience. Oh my God. So I'll tell you something funny that happened. So I wasn't wearing a headscarf. I started wearing a headscarf when I was about 17, 18. But I have curly hair, and I have a fro if you cut it off, I guess. But I came to my teacher one day and I said, "Hey, how do you get your hair straight like that?" Because the style was pretty much straight, like a little bun.
I know. Yep.
And she said, "Oh, I use a specific shampoo." So I went home and I told my mom, and I said, "Hey, Mom, you gotta buy the shampoo. My hair is gonna look like that."
You can't do the head and shoulders.
So
head and shoulders.
My mom then says, "Oh, if you wash it, like it's not gonna. Their hair is just straight." She didn't know about hair straighteners or any of that stuff, so she was like, "No, I think we just have different textures. It's not gonna work out for you." And then it had a lot of volume, so my mom would always do a top braid and a bottom braid, and I didn't like it. Whereas the other girls, they would have a little tiny ponytail, and there was barely anything coming out. I thought that was so cool. I'm like, I have so much, it takes long. So one day at home, I shaved. I made a circle.
Jesus.
What?
I shaved a circle. I told you we're gonna get real deep today. I shaved a circle, and the reason I did that was because I wanted the volume to decrease. So I shaved the circle, and then I put everything in a bun, and I'm like, oh, great. And my mom came home, and she saw that, and then she realized we have to pack up and leave Switzerland. That's how we left.
Are you
Switzerland.
serious?
I'm so serious.
Wow.
So you never went back to school after you shaved your head?
No, that same year we moved out. And my mom said, she didn't even want to move to the city of Switzerland. She said, I need my daughter, in order for us to survive society and my daughter not to go crazy, we have to find people that look like us.
Wow. So it was no one who looked like you guys.
We were the only Blacks in the whole village.
what was that dynamic like, right?
Yeah.
Did you experience? I know you said you experienced the fact that you realized the fact that you were Black.
Because like my teacher in kindergarten, like we would learn about Africans like holding stuff on their head, like with a fruit basket.
Okay.
And like my teacher would ask me, "Hey, do you know how to do this?"
Oh my God.
Like just from a very like a tone deaf perspective. And I remember coming home and asking my mom, like, "Hey mom, am I supposed to know how to do this?" She was like, "No, you really don't. You don't know how to do this."
So ignorant.
Outside of, I mean, the country was beautiful. I mean,
I can imagine.
Switzerland is amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It just wasn't for us.
Right.
And I think in combination of that, other challenges also at the time. Now their policies have changed, but at the time, if you were not a native and you didn't have their citizenship like the way that they wanted you to, you couldn't aspire towards, or you couldn't become professionals or choose types of careers that you wanted. So you can't go into medical school, for instance, at university.
Wow.
You can't become a doctor. Like there are certain things that you cannot do as a result of you not being native. Now they changed that. Now you don't have to be a native anymore. Like years later, I think they realized the benefits of the diversity.
When did that change?
Yeah.
I don't know, but definitely not the first 10 years that we lived there.
Okay.
So between that, so my mom knowing that eventually when we were ready to go to college, we could not pursue the path that we wanted. And she had already left everything in her hometown. So for her to come to another country where we would then be crippled or live within limitations, I think it wasn't going to work. And then me shaving the top was kind of,
You have pictures?
That was the straw that broke the
Do
camel's
you have
back.
pictures?
You
have pictures?
I don't know.
I did not take no pictures of that.
She shaved the rest of it off after that.
Oh,
so
she did?
She
Okay.
did, yeah. She
Okay.
did.
I'm trying to picture how it looks right now.
Yeah, but you shave just the middle of it.
Just the center, So then that way you can still pull your hair together.
No, I get your thought.
It's a genius,
I
right?
I get your I don't.
I'm thinking like George Jefferson, like it was nothing at the top, hair on the sides.
No, but
Like,
the
if
thing
you
about
had
it,
it down.
she still has hair all around.
Yeah, I
though,
have
so
it all
she can
around.
still cover it up if she has a nice ponytail.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
If you move your finger, then you'll see it. But outside of that,
Wow.
it'll.
Okay.
So I learned that I
It
was
grew
black.
back, right?
Yeah. It did.
Jamil,
It did.
what?
I just want to make sure. You take
was
your.
it,
If you were to take your hijab off right now, is it going to be a circle right now? Okay, so it's not. All right. So
we packed up, and then we moved. We actually moved to Sweden after that.
Okay.
I don't know if you know that.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
And then I moved to a small town called, but this was part of Stockholm.
Okay.
Stockholm has a city called Rinkeby, and they speak Svenska. So I speak Svenska, but I don't think I'm fluent anymore. I was fluent, but I lived there for 2 years. We did that, and Sweden, I think, for my mom was like, let me figure out which European country, because at this point we had citizenship where we could figure out where we would want to move to. And so she kept making calls. So good for her. Speaking about networking, and finally she settled on England. It was, highest chance of us succeeding, most stability. Other family members were also moving to England. And 2 years later, we moved to the UK, we moved to England, and I stayed there until I moved to this country. At that point, I knew I was Black, so
everything was fine after that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then in high school, where were you during high school?
High school, I was in England.
Oh, you were in England.
Yes,
Okay,
high school.
okay.
So middle school and primary school, I was in Switzerland and Sweden, and then in England, I was there for high school. So I started in 7th grade.
Okay.
Over there, 7th grade is high school.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
okay,
so
because ours
it's
is
a
like
bit
junior
different
high.
over there.
Okay.
You graduate by 11th grade.
Mhm.
There's no 12th grade.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like
Yeah.
college and university is different.
Yeah.
Right, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so in high school, is that kind of where you started noticing who you were, what you wanted to do? Certain your actual the core values and everything of yourself. Is that kind of where it happened in high school, or was it a little later?
So I asked that question to my mom also because I wanted to know how did this come about? Like, how did I develop my own personality? I'm actually kind of curious too. And she said that I was a special, different kid. Let's just say that. But she made an example, and she said there was one time we were in a playground when I was young, and my mom slipped. And when my mom slipped, the kids started making fun of her that she slipped, and they just, started joking and laughing. She said,
Badass
none of
kids.
your brothers, she said, none of your brothers said anything. They just helped me up. You, however, she said, you started attacking them and saying
That's what
how
I'm
jerks
talking
they
about,
were.
Juweria. Yes.
Like
Yes, Juweria.
So So she said, you were fired to begin with. Like, if you saw something
Okay.
wrong, you would call it
I
out.
love
Like,
it.
you weren't just.
Wow.
So I guess in a weird, I don't know. And I think I was like maybe 4 or 5 when this happened. So, fast forward, in England, I don't know. I just found myself always being an advocate for the underdog, like just finding issues or gaps within a system, seeing ways that I can be part of something, especially like when it comes to like changing or pivoting, redirecting. And I never kind of, if I saw that anyone was doing anything, I never assumed that they were doing it perfectly. I would always think of ways that it can be done better.
Okay.
So I don't know. I guess maybe, and just coming from maybe a single parent household, knowing that my mom was constantly advocating for us and figuring out, ways that she can pave the way for us. I think some of that played it. But yeah, definitely the challenges is what shaped me. Yeah.
Is that when did your love for like public service started to come into play? Was that more when you got here to this country, or was it
no?
prior
Because
to?
I was doing some stuff even in England too.
Okay.
We had this nonprofit that we started called Guiding Stars.
Guiding Stars.
I have to send this link to my friends back home now so they can see it. I'm like, I'm giving a shout out to Guiding Stars. And we started Guiding Stars because we noticed that people that looked like us just weren't going camping. That was the issue.
Oh wow.
Like and
Yeah,
England is
that'd
so
be me.
dense, and we're always in the city. You too? You hate camping?
Not doing it.
Yeah, I gotta get you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, open up your horizon.
Okay.
So we started reaching out to other people of color, blacks, brown, you name it. I don't even know what term we should use, but I guess people of color, people understand what I'm talking about. And we would organize so that people would feel safe and go camping knowing that they're going to be all right. So that was the issue, right? People don't want to go on their own because they're worried about what they're going to meet. They don't want to be in a hostile environment, what potentially can happen because the stairs and, the looks, like, you're not supposed to be here. So we organized that, and we would go to Wales, and we would go to Dover, which is the bottom part of England. They have white cliffs. It's so pretty. And then after you go to Dover, we would take the ferry and cross over to France sometimes. And you pay about £5 on a ferry and you come back. Like, we built this whole thing, and it was amazing. And then in addition to that, there was other stuff like tutoring. And so that was kind of like my first job also. Like,
That's
I would
awesome.
get paid tutoring.
Wow.
So that was like the kind
How
of
were
the
you?
social impact.
Yeah,
I was
how-
like 14, 15, 16. I was kind of starting
What?
that.
14, 15.
Yeah, that was a
Oh
lot of
my
fun. Oh my god,
gosh.
that was really good.
Wow.
See, I told you she was a rock. I was like, listen, Juweria was like 21, 22 when you first
Yeah.
came.
Yeah,
When
it
I
was
first met
2022,
you.
yeah, because I
and-
just turned 30. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
So-
crazy. So okay, you were in the UK. You transitioned over to the United States. What brought you over here?
So I started my university career in England too.
Okay.
I transferred when I came here.
Okay.
So I met Mohammed. Life changed. I'm like, okay, I
Where'd
guess
you
I'm
meet
going
him?
to the US. So Mohammed was a transfer student over with Duval. Not transfer, sorry. He was doing like a study abroad program.
Okay.
So he came. But when we started digging into like our relationships, our family, his father and my father also know each other. Like back home.
Isn't that,
Yeah.
isn't that
So it
something?
was
I don't think
just-
I ever knew that.
Wow.
Yeah, like they both know each other from when we finally started connecting, like the tribes and all of that. So it became, I think my mom even felt more comfortable me moving away,
Okay.
knowing that it wasn't just like a bunch of strangers I was getting into,
Yeah.
marrying. So I'm my mom's only daughter,
Yeah,
we
of
Yeah,
course.
were supposed to like live together, but
Yeah.
and this happened. But so when we met, that's I guess when life's and right away he was like, hey, you've moved all your life.
Come on, move one more
Right,
time.
Move one more time. I swear to God. And then he told, he was from New York.
Mhm. It was like,
And-
really, New York? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said he's from New York. And I think in my mind,
Oh, okay.
like
You
I'm
said
talking about the city, New
he
York.
thinking- she didn't know it was Buffalo. That's what it was.
No.
Oh.
Yeah. He's like,
You
I'm
fell
from
with
oh,
the
he
okey-doke.
didn't- I
I
swear,
told
I
you.
imagined like the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, no.
Oh, poor baby.
You got City
Yeah.
Hall.
So sad.
You got the electric tower. Anchor bar.
Canal side.
Canal side. Didn't even have canal side back then.
Oh, there was no canal side. No. Oh my God.
Oh,
I went through a lot. I
thing.
mean, he sold me a dream.
Gotta get it. That's how you get a reel of it, brother. Reel of it, Mom. Let's
It's
go.
like I live in New York. And I mean, I only knew the US from what I saw on TV. So I didn't know anything. And I would always go to Canada only because my father lives in Toronto.
Okay.
So when he said he lives in Buffalo, I was like, oh, like, you know, we ended up checking it out. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. So then the next time I came out to see my dad, because I would come to see him over the summers, I traveled across the border. And I just remember looking around and I'm like,
this is New York City.
like, are you sure? I had to look at the map because I'm like, maybe I'm going
Maybe
to
45
South
minutes away.
America. I don't know. I thought I was going to South America for a minute. And no disrespect there, but like just no pun intended there. But I was shocked.
Never seen so many short buildings in your life.
I've never seen a vacant building before.
Really?
A vacant building.
Wow.
Because England is high commodity. A building
yes,
that's
it is,
vacant is
yeah.
either for sale or for rent.
Okay.
The buildings here at the time, or even sometimes even now, it's vacant and it's just sitting
It's
there.
just sitting.
It's not for sale, it's not for
Especially
rent.
during that time that you came.
Yeah.
I mean, things changed a lot
2013 was
over the
crazy.
last, 10 years or so. But
Yeah.
prior to that, I
Yeah.
mean, sheesh. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was rough.
bad. Yeah.
So and then unfortunately my friends still think I live in the city now.
Now?
Yeah, so I swear I don't say anything. Is it worth it? Like,
wait, do you never plan for them to come visit you?
I had one friend who said, "Listen, I found an internship in New York City." She was modeling.
Go
She's like, "We should
get
grab
an
coffee."
Airbnb.
She said we should grab coffee. And I'm like, I live kind of like 6 hours away. She was like, "Didn't you say you live in New York?"
Yeah, it's like over the bridge a little bit.
Yeah.
It's probably 45 minutes away
It's,
on a plane.
yeah. And so then I came here, and I guess and part of the reason why I didn't graduate with my bachelor's in the UK was I called some of the universities here locally, and I said, because I knew I wanted to further my education.
Yeah.
I said, if I have my bachelor's degree from the United Kingdom, it's a merited university. How would my position work moving on to graduate school?
Yeah.
And they said it wouldn't work so well because England we don't have gen eds in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
When you're taking a bachelor's degree, it's just 3 years and it's just that program itself. So if it's biology, it's just biology. You don't take any classes, anything else outside of that. So they were like, you would have to come and take some of the gen ed courses, like the languages and the health sciences and all that. So I'm like, well, then in that case, maybe it's best I transfer. And then I ended up doing 18 months and then I graduated.
Okay.
So, and that's kind of how
And
things.
you were at UB, right?
I was at UB, yeah.
Okay.
So I guess, and that's at the time when I met you
Yes.
for the first time.
Yeah.
And I ended up just Googling, and I thought, you know what? Let me just learn about this city. And I thought the best way to learn about the city was let me just be in their government, see how they actually govern the city, because something ain't going right. Like why? And I thought it was like an American issue, maybe. I wouldn't so much say it's a Buffalo issue only. It's definitely an American issue in terms of like how Rust Belt cities look, the blight, the dilapidated conditions, and just the culture itself. And so the first internship that came up was actually the Urban Fellows program.
Wow.
When I said City of Buffalo. I'm like, okay, great. Let me submit an application.
So I have a question. You coming from England,
Mhm.
what's some differences that you see between the United States and England?
When I first came here, I used to say, can I get a glass of water?
Got to get a glass of water.
Now I say,
You always,
Can I
because
get a
you
glass
was
of water?
accent so bad.
Can I get a glass of water?
Now it's,
water?
can I get a glass of water?
Water? Water?
Water, yeah.
Water?
Like the A is pronounced as an O.
Oh,
Yeah.
water?
Water.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn this
My
thing.
brother, my sister.
Fix your
Wow.
face.
Gosh.
And I mean, language was a big barrier because like sidewalk is, the pavement. It's not the parking lot. It's the car park. And then I went to McDonald's to get McFlurry for the first time, okay? And they said to me, what size? I'm like, I can choose?
Wait, y'all don't wait. What you mean? In England,
There's no
it's just-
size option. It's
Yeah.
just small.
Oh.
No one asks you for
This
what
is
size.
exactly why we are the fattest country in the world.
Exactly.
I say this all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
I have some friends from the UK. They came over here, I want to say around like 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
And I was with them down in New York City. We were down there for Fashion Week. And so I took them to I think it was Johnny Rockets or something like that.
Oh,
right.
okay. Mhm.
It blew their mind.
Wow.
Like just the taste of the food, everything is just different. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of the ingredients that we have in our foods, they're actually banned in a lot of countries.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
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 There's some cereal brands that are banned in Europe
Yep.
that aren't banned in this
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
Like I was in Canada recently, and I just went there to Niagara Falls, and I'm just eating at a pizza restaurant. You know what I mean? And it was just like, yo, this is whoa, what is this?
Yeah.
But it's different. I mean,
Yeah.
because like they don't use the same ingredients that we use in our stuff.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
You know, we put a lot of different additives and things that
preservatives and
and
stuff.
preservatives.
Yeah.
That, you know,
Yeah.
and the
Okay.
stuff that's really
Dangerous.
not good for
It
you.
is.
You know,
Yeah.
It
so
is.
Yeah.
Wow. So then, how was that for you? Because to
So,
come
like,
here and know,
Like between the food, I mean, you even try Subway, for instance. The American cheese, it's not called American cheese everywhere else in the world. It's called plain cheese. And I remember just saying, "Can I get the plain cheese?" And they were so baffled. They were like, "You mean American?" I'm like, "I guess." And then I would keep forgetting. So every time I went to Subway, I would say, "Oh, the buffalo cheese, the New York cheese." And it became, oh my God. It was so, and really what saved me, no, I don't know if I want to say saved me, but what helped me understand American culture was Glee. I started watching a lot of Glee,
Glee?
episodes. Yeah.
The musical.
Yes, the movie,
Wow.
the TV show. Glee.
Wait,
Yeah,
is it?
it was a TV show.
It was a TV show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's not the musical.
They have a musical
They have
too,
a musical
but it's,
for it,
Oh,
but
but
they
there's
have
a TV
the
show.
for
Yeah.
it, yeah.
like,
Okay.
yeah, because Glee was big around about those 5 years. And when I was leaving the UK around that time, and then coming here, I'm like, because I would say jokes and people wouldn't get it. You know?
Like what? Give
Yeah.
us a joke. Give us a joke real quick.
I mean,
Give us a joke.
honestly, it was like, say somebody was just kind of trickling behind so much, I'd be like, "Oh, you're such a slow coach."
A slow coach.
Yeah, and people would be like, "Huh?" So it
A
means
slow
like, "Oh, you're
coach.
moving, stop, like you're moving like a snail." Like,
yeah.
but
Okay.
it's supposed to be funny,
Uh,
and people wouldn't laugh.
laughing.
Yeah,
Nobody's laughing at my show.
or I wouldn't laugh at their jokes, and so
Right. Yeah.
They probably
was-
think you stuck up and like, you know.
yeah. I'll tell you something funny I did at City Hall that first couple when they employed me. In England, they have something called bank holiday.
Okay.
Okay,
Mhm.
so here we have like Labor Days and a bunch
I'm
of other
familiar
stuff,
with bank
but there's no
holiday.
bank holidays here, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So for some reason, I was talking to my mom, like I think the night before, and she was like, "Oh, it's bank holiday on Monday." I assumed it's bank holiday also, so I didn't come to
You
work
didn't come to
that
work.
Monday.
You know, City
And
Hall
I
don't
got
play
a call.
that shit. City
I got a
Hall don't
call.
play that.
I got a call around, I think 12 o'clock, and
Like, where are
they were
you?
like, "Hey, where are you? Are you coming into work?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not."
Wait, did I call you?
Yeah. And they're like, "Why not?" And I'm like, "Because it's bank holiday." They're like, "Juweria, there is no holiday. You need to come here, like now." I'm not even kidding.
No.
So I had
yeah.
hiccups like that.
Wow.
Or we were thinking about giving somebody a nickname, and her name I don't want to say her full name, but it started with T, and the nickname I came up with was Teabag.
I'm done.
we might have to pause the call.
I'm about to knock my damn microphone over.
Listen, everybody in the room was like, Nakia was in the room that day, thank God. Nakia said, "Juweria's from England. She doesn't know what just happened." Nakia, I hope you're watching this episode. She's like, "Juweria doesn't realize what just happened." And yeah, and she told me, she was like, "Just type in Urban Dictionary teabag." And oh my God.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
never gonna
I
forget
think
that.
I would have made you my friend because, like, I gotta see what else she gonna say throughout the days.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
difficult, man. But
What was
Glee
what was
saved
like
me.
black culture? Like, how was black culture different from over there versus over here?
Mm.
There's a lot of Caribbean influence there.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
yeah, so like a lot of Jamaicans.
Okay.
Of course, the biggest dialect for them is Patois. So they kind of infused the Patois dialect into the English. In general, I think us as Black people were more stylish in the UK. I feel like I went from being like a
I believe
7
that.
out of 10
I believe
in
that.
UK, and I came and I was like 11 out of 10, man. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, because you do have some fly coats. Yeah, you be walking in.
That's what she said to me at the
Yeah.
interview. You were like, "Your jacket is different."
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, because it was from Zara in the UK.
yeah, it's different out there.
Wow.
Yeah, like Forever 21
That's when I
is
first
different.
learned about Zara. Like, I had never been to the UK, but I,
Yeah.
just through friends and such, they was like, "Oh, do you have a Zara out there?" I'm like, "I've never even heard of Zara before."
Yeah.
And then I think my first one was either in Toronto that I went to, or either New York City. And I'm just like, oh my, like, as a matter of fact, this is from Zara. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay. Yeah, Zara's
like it's one of my
usually,
favorite places to shop now.
Yeah. I guess the style and the culture, and in a way, because, and I don't want to get too deep really right away, but America has more of like a race-related issue, right? In England, it's more of a class issue. The race division isn't there as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's probably because of how dense and how small the country is. Like you can't have an east side and a west. Like it just wouldn't realistically make sense there. But there's definitely that class issue and disparity. So yeah, it's night and day.
Yeah.
It's night and day,
Wow.
yeah. But I like my Black people here too, because I'm here and I'm repping Buffalo now, you know? I'm Team City of Good Neighbors.
Yeah, yes, you are. You are definitely Team City of Good Neighbors. So,
Yeah.
so you've done a lot of work, in public service. Like I said, during the time that you were an urban fellow, and then even after that, you were the external affairs manager.
Yep.
For the Office of Citizen.
It's a mouthful.
Yes,
Oh,
Division of Citizen
goodness.
Services. There
Yeah.
we go. There we
Yeah.
go. So,
And then
just
I
talk.
got my master's degree in planning and
Yeah.
architecture. So then I was kind of like in between the two departments.
Right,
Planning
and I saw a lot
development.
of the plans and stuff that you would come up with, like
Yeah.
just ideas that you would have, with just
Mhm.
like redevelopment of, like, I think the one you showed me, it was like for the Boulevard Mall or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
just time to just talk to, like, some of the more pressing issues that that you've encountered here, that you really wanted to kind of lend your time to, your
Mhm.
voice to try to make that, make some changes here.
Yeah. So before I even came here, in the beginning, I was kind of figuring out a way to become an attorney and become a family lawyer. That was
Mhm.
kind of like my end goal. Okay.
Mhm.
So my first job while I was in college in the UK, I worked for LinkedIn. LinkedIn has this AI thing where they consult with other companies and they want to help those companies figure out to set up some sort of like an algorithm where they don't have to recruit or interview hundreds of employees. For example, Amazon, when you submit an application, nobody's reading your application. It's a system that kind of makes a determination if you should move forward or not. So we would help set up those algorithms. And what you notice is they would say, well, data's not racist, but they kept hiring the same people, right? It's like, well, we're just kind of going off of whatever. But whoever inputs this and designs that format and says, if you come from this type of university, have this level of experience, we're going to put you in. And if that person doesn't look like you, then of course they're going to not recruit someone that looks like you.
Mhm.
And so quickly we started noticing that. So with that knowledge, I think I quickly realized, and that was like the transition of me moving from the UK to the US.
Mhm.
Was like, oh, I started getting to the data science sort of things. And at the time, my good friend said to me, the best liars in the world know statistics. Like
Mhm.
you gotta know your numbers.
Mhm.
And not to say anyone should be the best liar, okay? Like beside the point, I'm telling you. But you've got to know how to, use numbers. Because too often what happens is we'll see a statistic that says, oh, this is happening. It's a data and evidence. It's BS.
Mhm.
It's whoever writes and manipulates that data. You can you can use data to tell any story you want.
Right.
Good or bad.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Like that's why data is not really the end of be all. Try using data to describe a puppy. Can you?
I think I can.
Go on, use data.
So
On the spot. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
the square
Describe a
root
puppy.
of
There you go.
I have no
There you
idea.
go.
I have no idea.
It's not possible. But we rely so much on data alone, and that's it.
Yeah.
So coming to this country and then seeing, I guess, just how things were so different, I felt like England was especially Birmingham, where I grew up, it was so advanced. It's almost like, in a way, 50 years of what maybe. Buffalo is like 50 years behind Birmingham in the UK. So I was like, this is going to be an opportunity for me to be part of something as it goes.
Right.
In the UK, I wasn't really part of something to begin with. You know what I mean?
Okay.
People had already built solution systems.
Right.
So I think getting that internship, meeting Jamil, and then kind of, I think one thing you told me was like, build your network, get to know people. It's who you know, right? Not even what you do. So it was a combination of that. I was figuring out my career. Law school didn't work out. I'm like, family law is not going to work out for me. It's just too depressing, unfortunately. I couldn't do that. Then it was just like this pivotal time of I'm understanding how systems work. I'm good with data. I need to know how communities are built. And so for my master's, that's how I ended up going through the architecture and planning. And yeah, I guess the rest was history. But honestly, it was like those little things over the years that happened.
Mhm.
And let's be honest, I mean, I come from the UK, yes, and people sometimes think I live in this posh house. I'm like, no, I lived in public housing. We
Mhm.
lived in a flat. A flat is like the complex, the compounds here, where
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
government helps subsidize.
Okay.
So my mom had a
It's
20-hour.
different out there, though.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it?
different.
In a good way.
It's like a posh
Oh,
flat.
really?
Yeah. It ain't like the projects out here.
Because that was what I was thinking.
Mm.
No,
Okay,
I swear it's the
not
same.
okay.
Because
Well,
poverty is the same everywhere. I swear to God.
Poverty, yes, yeah, but it's
the
Yeah,
living conditions are a little different.
UK poverty. I think is a
Yeah.
little different.
Okay.
But
it's yeah. Maybe it's better to be poor in England than being poor here.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we got free. They got free healthcare, so
yeah.
you can be an entrepreneur and not worry about that. That's a big deal, I guess.
Take my ass to
Oh
London.
my gosh.
Yeah, you know what I
that's
mean?
huge.
That's huge. Yeah, that's what kills
I need dual
entrepreneurship here.
citizenship.
Like
Oh
what you
my
do with
gosh.
what you do.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you get around your healthcare.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I love about being here in Buffalo because we are. I don't think we are the most progressive city. I
Mhm.
think we are making strides to go in that direction. But I think it's so much room for opportunity here.
Absolutely.
You know,
So
so
much.
you
Oh my
you
God.
can really just really carve out your lane
Yeah.
and really be
Yeah.
that big fish in a small pond.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of been the secret to my
Yeah.
success, so to speak,
Mhm.
is that I've been able to, instead of me, going off into some big city where I just get swallowed up and just be, I was able to make a name for myself here in Buffalo.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like
'cause
you can
really
have a
carve out
bigger
your-
impact. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're absolutely right.
And you can take that, you can leverage that, in other places that you go to.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why I decided to stay. As difficult as it was, like coming from the UK.
mhm.
I mean, banking is being done different here. It's so backward. The fact that we have fees in the UK, the
Yeah.
data are so collected. Like you can have a key bank account,
Mhm.
you can go to M&T, withdraw your money. There's no fees associated.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like things are technology wise, we're so far advanced, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I'm coming to the US, and I have to kind of go back
Yeah.
in a way, if that makes sense.
Which is so interesting because everyone wants to sell this American dream, but they don't
Mhm.
know the cost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Of this
and the
American
American
dream.
exceptionalism,
Yeah.
and
Man.
you
Yeah.
realize that it's not that exceptional.
Yeah.
It's
It's not
No.
all Hollywood.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in reality, it's very different. Like I think technology wise, data sharing wise,
Mhm,
Europe, especially the UK, they're far more advanced.
mhm,
Some of the things that we're doing now, the UK was doing it 20 years ago.
mhm.
So I started noticing that, and that became very difficult for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was an accomplishment that you have done since being here that that you hold dearly to you, that really speaks to you?
I mean, I became a mom here. Like I got my
Yeah.
first house here. You know what I mean? Like adulthood, I did it here.
Okay.
Like I built a community here that's working for something. They're building a vision that we haven't even seen yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't think I felt that when I was in the UK. Like it's just different here, the energy.
Mhm.
So I became the version I am today because of me being in Buffalo. And I think part of that was motherhood, the friendships, the community, being in a city like Buffalo, as with all the challenges that it has, means translating that to the different opportunities.
Mhm.
I I cherish that so deeply. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how you look at things. Do you look at the glass half full or half empty?
Right?
Yeah.
And people like us, we choose to look at it as half full, right? Because it's so much that we could, we can lend our time, our talents to make the city a better place, to make our communities a better place. And and I love it because like we're young and we're doing this stuff,
Yeah.
man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
oftentimes like and I'm not trying to get into a whole,
I was about to say because I know where
Yeah.
you could go with this.
yeah, but some people sometimes, they're afraid to pass the buck.
That's
They don't want to
true.
pass that baton
Yeah.
because for a lot of people, especially a lot of the older generation, whatever little sense of power that they've attained, you know, they just trying to hold on to it for as
Yeah.
long as they can. So it's and it's a different feeling sometimes. When it's like I've been in this space for so long, you trying to tell me I got to pass this along to these young, like
Mhm.
nah. So, but and that's why I'm just so impressed by what you've been able to do since you've been over here, because you've been able to do this stuff at a very
Oh my goodness.
early young
Seriously.
age.
Yeah.
Oh, like you said, you just turned 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you did
I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
I'm 50 up here, I swear.
But you were able to do all of these things
Yeah.
before the age of 30, which has been
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal.
But you know what's interesting, Jamil? And it's I'll still sometimes, like, in a room where I'm like nobody knows me, people can still come to me and just say, "Do you speak English?" Like, it's there's still, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's still real. Like,
Yeah.
regardless of all the great things I've done, from
Wow.
like the merits, the credentials, the experience, it's still the perception of, oh, you must be oppressed because of the way you're dressed. You know, or
Okay.
she probably doesn't speak the language.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we've got a long way to go.
So I don't, because I know that we have to get into like the business side of things,
Yes,
and EForAll and
please.
everything. But I want to just, I gotta ask this question though.
Okay.
So if it's too personal, or whatever, you don't have to. But
Yes, you do.
never mind. Yes,
Do I
you
have a
do.
choice?
No, you don't.
Okay.
Actually, you don't have a choice. My bad. You don't have a choice.
Okay.
But growing up the way that you did, not having your father, meaning that you didn't see that dynamic.
Right.
You being a wife right now, was that a challenge for you because you never really seen it done? And if so, what's something that you've learned even about yourself being in marriage?
That's so funny. Absolutely. That's not even a question. When I was growing up, all my friends were single family households. When
All
they
of
said
them.
they have a dad in their life, it was crazy. We would be like,
Okay.
"You have a dad? He's in your life? Like, he's gonna pick you up from school?" Oh my God.
Can we see him?
Right, like, is he real? Like, I didn't have friends that had a dad in their life.
Wow.
Like, it was so normal to just have a mom.
Okay.
Nobody had a dad. It was a luxury to have a dad.
Wow. Okay.
My kids see that they now have a mom and dad. My brother-in-law and my sister, like, all of the people that they know, except for me, are actually married people, like, within the family that they now see. Like, my husband's side of the family, like, both of his sisters are married and they're together. My husband's parents are together for a decade. Grandparents. So it's like, they sometimes ask me, well, my dad's probably not going to watch this podcast, so I can mention it.
Are you sure?
I'm gonna send him the link.
When we, so my dad, things, life moves on. My mom didn't remarry, but my father did. And when my kids found out, like, they kind of got to the age where they're like, let's figure out this marriage thing. They would ask, my dad's wife, "Hey, so did you marry my granddad?" She's, my dad, after he left our grandma
Oh,
or
wow.
before?
No,
Like,
no.
They would, and I would have to immediately interject.
Like, hey!
Like,
That's a home question.
Yeah, I couldn't in the beginning. Like, I couldn't leave them together in a room without them saying something. Or they would just be like, "Hey, set up a call. Your mom and dad might fall in love again." And they'd be like, "Why does your mom live in England and your dad lives in Toronto? That's kind of weird. Look at daddy's parents." But I love that they think it's so abnormal that I come from a single parent. Like, that's
good.
fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I've done my job at that point.
Absolutely.
And so that's inspiring to me. Marriages work. I've watched the previous episodes. There is no silver lining. Like, you've got to work towards it. Same way you put your best foot forward for a job, for anything else, career-wise, you got to do that in your marriage too. And so, for my parents, I think them parting ways was probably for the best thing.
Okay.
We're not gonna get into that. But I love that my kids think it's abnormal, whereas I thought it was abnormal to have a father.
Right.
So our dynamic is so different.
Wow. So you really just changed a whole generation
Yeah.
like that.
It's just insane.
That's
And,
good.
and hopefully they'll be in a position where they can say, "My parents did this. I've seen compassion and love in front of me from a household," and they don't have to wonder what it's like to live in a two-parent
See,
household.
talk about that first.
Yeah.
That's first
I'm
generation
telling
love
you.
right there.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
That's
That's
amazing.
It's
huge.
privilege, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Because daddy
You
issues are for real, are real.
No, no. Listen, I've dealt with it
Yeah.
for a very long time.
We
So,
all
yeah, I
have.
think we all have. You know, so
Yeah.
Therapist on speed dial.
Literally, yeah.
So if you're doing the city hall stuff and you're working in
I
government
want to
for a
talk about
while.
City Hall stuff too.
You want to talk? Yeah, we can
Yeah.
talk about city hall stuff.
That's 6 years
like,
of my
I'm
life.
here, so-
Yeah, so let's talk about city hall stuff. So you know, it's so many different areas that I can go with this.
That's
So
true.
because I'm privy to some things just from seeing you work before, just conversations that we've had offline. And I've seen you work. I've seen you, do the work, and I see how I can sing your praises all day, about just how great you are. But just talk about like some of those things. What were some of the challenges that you had like while working at City Hall?
In government.
Because we know we had some challenges.
No, I mean, in reality, there's two challenges. There's the perception of what the community thinks of you to begin with, because you fall into this pocket of, but you're in the government. You got to be part of this system. How are you going to be one of us fighting this fight with us?
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you all know that you're giving me a fight, and then I'm also having an internal fight?
That's so true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How many real estate, in terms of like our real estate, how many Black people in the city are in that top 10% that own real estate?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, who are the wealthiest? Like, in terms of us as people, as Black people, we don't really have that pull right now. We don't have that generational wealth. So I think and it's not just a government thing. I mean, there's a lot of red tape. That's, everybody knows that. But it's also me coming in as the first for some of these things. They hadn't seen someone that looked like me with my degree trying to do the work that I'm trying to do. It's like, who is she?
Right.
You know what I mean? And along the way, there's going to be people who will try to, discredit you, to try to cripple you, to say, oh, wait, she's going too fast. She's, she's trying to shine too much right now. We can't go to these places. Oh, he felt that. Oh, he felt that.
Trigger.
Oh, it's so triggering right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's because the minute people look at you and then you look different, it's like, how dare you fit into this space? You're different.
Yeah.
And that's bound to happen, right? You're gonna shake and move some things.
Yeah.
And then on the back end, sometimes the community feels like, hey, you must have all the power because you work there, not realizing that you're advocating for them. And you're also trying to prove yourself, advocating for yourself, for entering this space to begin with.
Right.
It's a tough job, I think, for Black people in government, in a lot of these elite positions even. It's tough. So I think we've got to show more grace. We show so much more grace to a middle-aged white man when he makes a mistake. Because along the way, we're gonna do that. We're not perfect, but we don't show that grace.
Right. So
You should have prepared me. I didn't know we were going this way.
We never know where we're going to go on this. We
This
never
is
know.
like,
Yeah.
boss man, this is triggering, bro.
He's going to be over in the corner.
Oh
Like
my
going through
God.
withdrawals and shit.
Yeah. But let me also just, put this out on the record. If it wasn't for my experience in government,
Right.
I also wouldn't be who I am today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
1,000%.
The deep connections that you build, the leadership that you learn from, all of that stuff. I'm not even kidding. If you haven't worked in the public sector, you're not going to know how to really better change your community.
Yeah.
You need
That's
to
a
know
fact.
how resources are spread. You need to know who applies to these resources. What are some of the, not just on the policy level right now, but what are the systemic issues and barriers that are facing and that affected us 50 years ago, and we're still seeing the effects right now.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, we keep talking about, oh yeah, there's a lot of prosperity, and it's true, but there's people telling you like prosperity is bypassing us. If you don't know the why, you're not going to be able to look into that sector, that type of those groups. You're not going to be able to do that. And I think working in government, and I started off as an intern, and they turned around and gave me my first job. We're like, we want you here. There's something special, like you said.
Yeah.
And I said yes. why not? And I stuck around for 6 years, and I did a ton of. I mean, we worked hand in hand.
Yeah, we
Those
did.
are fun
Yeah,
days.
we did. It was fun.
Oh
We
my
had a
god,
lot of fun.
that was fun.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was I don't know. I have like the most heartfelt respect and experience and love for people that I worked with. But there's, like I said, there's going to be. I think Obama might have said this. Whatever you do, there's going to be 20% of people who will try to be haters
Mhm.
because they want to be you.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
gonna
yes.
happen. When you
Yeah.
don't have haters, I guess
That's the
maybe
problem,
there's
right?
something there.
Yeah. You know, the crazy thing too, I mean, it's, I talk about this, like some of my own challenges working in government and such. And you're 1,000% spot on though, because while yes, there were some challenges, right? Uh, if it wasn't for me being in that space, I don't think I would be the person that I am today.
Yeah.
I'm very
I mean, you and I
extremely
even kind
grateful.
of met because of
Yeah,
government.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so internally grateful to the individuals that, gave me an opportunity being there because again, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I've met all of the relationships, the social capital that we always talk
Yep.
Mhm.
about developing. A lot of that was developed during
Yeah,
my time
right.
in working in government.
Mhm.
I would say 90% of it was developed while I was working in government, and I just leveraged that stuff outside of government
Mhm.
to kind of help me in that transition period. Right. So, but yeah, I'd like, I'll joke and, part of it is not joking because like it was definitely some internal issues and challenges and such. And just not feeling like I'm being valued or I'm, really being used to my, to the best of my abilities and such. But I cannot take that away from my time working in public service and working in government. And I'm still kind of I'm tapped in still. I mean I'm still working with folks, but just
You're Jamil Cruz.
yeah, of course. Come on, as you know. but um, and I think I always tell people, some of the most important relationships that you can have with people are politicians
Yeah.
and people who work in the public sector.
And one other thing, good advice is because it's okay to pivot in your career. Like
Yeah.
there's
Mm.
nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
People
Mhm.
think it's like end of be all the minute you say I'm
Mhm.
leaving this thing. But the way you the way you exit the company or whatever you're with is just as important as the way you enter.
Oh,
For
absolutely.
And people
sure.
forget that.
Yeah.
People just be like,
You-
oh, I'm on my feelings and
Yeah,
screw this and
they
F
go out
that.
guns a blazing, and
No,
I'm just like, you
right.
can't do that. Like, and that's when I left on a high note, right? Like I went, I had conversations with higher ups and such. Went to their homes. I'm talking to them like, listen, I appreciate this opportunity that you gave me. I think it's time for me to transition. And to this day, I still have amazing relationships with everybody in government. Most of the people I work with in government. Most of the
Disclaimer.
people. Some people I'm just like, y'all can kick rocks forever. You know what I mean? But other people I'm just like, those folks that, like I said, those ones that really gave me and extended that hand at Olive Ranch, I have amazing relationships with. It's just it's the workers. Those people that you talked about, the people who just try to hate on you. They
Yeah.
hate on your talents and
Yeah.
everything like that. But
And there's nothing they can do to kind of reduce your worth. It's like you just
not
kind of keep
absolutely
your
not.
head up, and then the people who are actually there will see, they'll see through that even.
Yeah.
Like when the little minions say something.
Yeah.
But
It's crazy
you
when I
gotta
hear
just
people
throw away
say
the
like,
minions.
"Oh, I always knew that you were." Oh, get out of here. Where was that
Oh
when I
my
was
God.
there?
That's too funny. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So,
But yeah,
you
big lesson learned. for
yeah,
sure, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, you had that time in government
Mhm.
and then, this
Then COVID hit.
then COVID hit.
Really, that's what changed things for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
COVID hit. So I mean, I was there for about 6 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I kind of reached the point where I thought, I've learned so many things. I don't feel at this point I'm making the impact that I would like to
Right.
have.
Right.
So I had to make that selfish decision because I don't think anyone saw it coming. I had a
Okay.
great healthcare plan,
Mm-hmm.
was getting
Oh
paid
man, I
well,
missed that.
things were fine.
That's
I
one
had
thing
a
I do
great
miss.
boss. I mean, I had a community who loved me. The mayor was asking me to represent the city of Buffalo at
Mhm.
conferences.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
it was the optimum of my career. I'm not gonna lie. Being in a position where then I decided to pivot, like that was really hard. And I really didn't know if that was the best thing. And it doesn't even matter where I went. It was that I was ready to move on and do something different.
Mhm.
And I think it's so important to just risk it a little bit and say, I have to be in a growth mindset. do I feel like the things that I'm doing right now is elevating me to that next chapter of my life, or am I still kind of going through that same motion, and you have that same routine, and you become comfortable. When you become comfortable, unfortunately,
Yeah,
you
complacency
stop
sets in.
you
Yeah.
become complacent.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
COVID hit, and my God, like, I realized there's something called work from home. And I'm like,
That's the
Oh,
thing.
damn.
not in government. It's not. I
Yeah,
tell you,
yeah.
not in government.
Oh my God. I mean, I would always say government is like the optimum of innovation, but when it hit, I started looking around. I'm like, how is government dealing with this? Not just like a Buffalo thing, but generally speaking, nobody had ever worked from home before. Like, that wasn't even an option. It's like, wait, we're in the public sector. How would you do that? Obviously, long-term wise, it's not logical. But in that second, I think we went from, the governor saying shut down 50%, 80%. And then I think on a Friday at 12 o'clock, it was like 100%, everybody, the workforce got to go home. And I remember just going home thinking, well, I can't do my work anymore. And I don't think I did anything for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. And I kept saying, what can I do? Some of the things that we did was just on the ground, like, supporting people who couldn't go to, do the groceries. But the bulk of my job, really anything I did I couldn't do it because there was no computer access.
Right.
And then it backtracked. And then I think, we realized how important it is to invest in technology, how important it is for people to have the flexibility to be able to do remote work, to see that people can collaborate outside of an office setting. Like, you can have meaningful conversations and meetings without that face-to-face interaction. There's different ways.
Yeah.
And then when that happens, I thought, wow, I feel much more efficient. Now I'm not having 1,500 people knock on my door and have those conversations for no reason.
That is that
I'm
part.
actually doing my job and finishing it up, and I realized, shit, this is not even a 40-hour job anymore. I was able to do laundry, I was able to cook, clean, be a mom, multitask, be able to pick up and drop off my kids on time, did my job even more effectively,
Wow.
managed to collaborate like in a heartbeat because now you're doing the Zoom and all of that. And I thought, I'm missing the mark in this. This might be a time where I need to do something different. And the people that were most affected by COVID were small businesses,
Yeah.
right? Like, when you think about the economy wise. And I knew in my day-to-day job, I didn't really work with small businesses. I kind of touched on workforce, expanding the economy, things like that. But it was like at that 300,000 level. It's never the who's on the ground. Why is the business owner's doors shutting down today?
The little mom and pops. and
Yeah.
everything.
Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I have an idea. Where do I go? What are the barriers that entrepreneur faces? I didn't do some of those things. In hindsight, some of the things that prepared me, however, for my planning degree, my master's thesis, I did a study on all the support programs and services, like for small businesses and entrepreneurs here in Western New York.
Wow.
And I made the conclusion I was never going to work for any of them. I swear to God. That's my thesis. Like, I should give y'all a copy. It's great. And so I thought, well, I can't work in the business sector because I know how. I looked at the Buffalo Billion. I looked at some of the federal aid monies that were being dispersed. I looked at how some of the nonprofits were running. And I just identified like so many gaps. I'm like, I'm not a hero to save any things, but I can't work for these companies. And I was thinking of kind of completely pivoting to a point where I was going to work for like a planning firm, maybe to just do more of the design stuff and leave the whole economy stuff. Lo and behold, I called my mentor and I said, hey, I think I'm ready to pivot. And in my mind, long-term wise, I know I'm thinking about policy. I think you probably know that. And I said, hey, I want to be a policymaker at some point because I've seen how government runs. It's important that you have the right folks at the realm that can really allow good policies to pass.
Yeah.
Because it's no good saying we're going to invest in this and that if there isn't a policy that allows those companies, those individuals to thrive. But I said, before I do that, I got to have a different experience. And my mentor said to me, well, yeah, you do. You can't just go from public sector to public sector to public sector. You've got to go in the private sector and figure some of this stuff out. And I'm like, yeah, but I have a thesis here where I know a lot of these companies are really not in a position where I want to work for them. Where do I go? In the mix of all of that, he introduced me to somebody called Matt Enstis. And Matt Enstis was and really is the champion who, to begin with, brought EForAll to this community here. And honestly, EForAll is just like there's a lot of national companies. EForAll just happens to be the one that he brought, in my opinion.
Okay.
And then I got introduced to Kyrie.
Shout out to my boy.
I thought his name was
Yeah.
Kyrie the first time I
Everybody
saw
thought his
him.
name. This is Kyrie.
I thought it was
Kyrie
Kyrie.
Stevens.
My God.
Shout out to my brother.
First
We
of
always
all,
talking about him on this pod. I don't know why.
Shout out
We
to
might
his
have to-
dad.
Oh,
oh,
Lord,
his
no.
dad is hot.
See?
Yeah.
You're married. Cut it out.
We can look, okay?
Hey.
Let me fall out here.
Yeah. His dad is hot and he's tall.
Man.
That's
Okay.
my guy too.
And Kyrie has 2 names. His name is Marseille also.
Yeah.
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 Do you,
Yeah.
I know
I
I'm
knew
going to go on a tangent, but I had lunch with Kyrie one time. This was before I knew him as Marseille.
Mm.
And my friend texts me and says, Juweria, now you're friends with my friend. You should have told me you were out with Marseille. And I'm like, I don't know no Marseille. I was not with. And she sends me a picture. And I'm like, oh, that's Marseille. I knew it was Kyrie.
Yeah.
Anyway, shout out to Kyrie.
Kyrie. Have to get his dad on the podcast or something.
Oh
since y'all
my
always
God.
talking about him.
Me and Avians can host it, so.
I mean, because we don't need you
Yeah.
at that
We
point.
won't need you. You let me know. I'm available.
Savages. Savages.
Do you have the schedule out yet or no?
I don't know.
Let's add him up.
I don't know. We don't do schedules.
I'm friends.
Anyways,
I'm friends on
who
Facebook
are
with
on
him.
EForAll? So
Hi.
Hey.
How you doing?
yeah. Okay, so EForAll.
Is that what we're talking
So
about?
yeah, we're talking about EForAll. You know, got into get off track, bro. Like, what's going on?
So anyway, they bring me on board and they say, hey, Juweria, we think you should be the person leading this effort. And there were 2 main reasons I agreed to it. And at some point, I hope to really do my own spin-off. I'm not even gonna lie. It was about the biggest issue I had with some of the other companies where if there was a program, the program wasn't free of charge, or if it was a free of charge, it was certain points. So it would be 2 weeks of free of charge, and then it's $90 fee, for instance, going forward. You can't afford that if you're just an average person. Another issue was the number of folks that the companies would take in. Sometimes it's like 200 people they would deal with. And then you just get like your little certification that says, here's your participation credit. But you're not at a position where you're ready to build and launch something. And without sounding like, I don't want to sound too cocky about it, but a lot of the other EForAll markets are not even the same as Buffalo. A lot of them don't have 15 entrepreneurs. We had 15 entrepreneurs on our first cycle. Our target was just, let's recruit 8 companies that we work with, 8 entrepreneurs, and let's launch. I'm like, hell no, why would we do that? Like, we're going to do this. We're going to go full blown.
Absolutely.
We're going to
Yeah.
get 15. And that's kind of where we started doing some of the events in the beginning. And it was just, and people were like, what is EForAll? They thought it was environmental for all.
Yep.
Like, people didn't know
Yep.
it. So we had a lot of fun. Oh my God. And I think what really, really helped was 99% of people who signed up would say, I signed up because you were leading this effort. I signed up because when I saw the word entrepreneurship and you next to it, it was like, who's this Black Muslim girl talking about this? Let me find out what's up. I think I can, I can learn from this. And I'm not, like I said, a middle-aged white man. I'm not. But you think about the definition of entrepreneurship, it's usually someone who's heading towards Silicon Valley. No one's talking about small businesses. And it was a big challenge. So kind of overcoming that culture, branding it and using my own flavor and saying, hey, you can turn your dream into a business. You are you are what an entrepreneur looks like. I think that's really what elevated and accelerated a lot of this for us. And that's important. If you're gonna add, say for example, recycling, you don't see someone like us leading a recycling effort.
Right.
Hence, there is that ripple effect of a lot of people really just not understanding it or wanting to engage in recycling, for instance. You need people that can speak your language, that understand your culture, that break those little, social cues, that will actually understand you and be on your level, that will bring you in and say, you be part of this, you be part of that. And I think, honestly, that's how we were able to create the family. You know what I'm saying? So it was a privilege to come on as the first person, even when I did, not knowing anything about it. But then it was even more so important to build the trust with the people and give them an opportunity to say, this program is for you. You want to start a business. This company, through the tools that we're using, we can help you. And honestly, I want to, give a lot of credit to Matt and Kyrie. because they're the ones that said, "Hey, I really thought I was working for Matt and Curie when I first signed up. I didn't know there was like a whole national company. I was like, oh, okay, it's not Matt and Curie." But they, especially Kyrie, my God, like that man he's a champion. He's a freaking hero here in Buffalo. And then there's his dad.
We're gonna keep talking about his dad. Every podcast.
Well,
Every
so
podcast. Okay, we get it. EForAll. So.
I would definitely say this though, because when I was introduced to EForAll for the second cohort around, I kid you not, is exactly what you said. When I saw you, I was like, okay, I'll do it. Because and the thing about it's like, we didn't know each other or anything like that, but I heard great things about you, and I know the work and the heart that you have with everything that you do. So when I saw you as the executive director, I said, oh, maybe this will work. Honestly, like I said, maybe this will work because I saw you,
Yeah.
So,
And then I think when you signed up, or really anyone else, you start seeing people that look like you, that shared experience with you.
Right.
You think about all these other spaces, like I'm thinking about my grad school or any of those other stuff. Chances were the people in my cohort, we weren't bumping into the same grocery store. We weren't hanging out in the same parking lots. We weren't from that same thing. Like we were taking these classes together. And then after that, we're different.
Yeah.
But when you see people that look like you in the program, you're kicking it with them professionally and you're kicking it with them personally.
Yep.
And that's how you grow your pocket.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of other folks thrive. It's not just that business, I'm your mentor. No, you have a life coach. You have
social capital.
Yeah, that deeper connection. That means they're invested in you and your growth outside of anything else.
You see the thing that threads this thing together? Every podcast, social capital.
Yeah.
It's the thing that threads everything together.
Absolutely.
It's the foundation.
And the one thing I love about, this program, everything that you just said, but I want to speak specifically, to Aviance's experience, because I know prior to her getting in there, Aviance didn't come with a wealth of business background or business experience or anything like that. And for her to be able to go through this accelerator, do extremely well, come out, as one of the top companies in the accelerator, I think it really speaks to just the value that the company brings.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And this is why it's important for people to make sure that they are taking advantage of opportunities like this. Because, as I say all the time, we miss 100% of the shots that we don't take. And oftentimes people, they want to be in these positions to be in business for themselves, be an entrepreneur, or want to scale their business that they already have. Sometimes they just need the resources or what have you. They need the people connections, that social capital. And a program like EForAll provides all of that.
Yeah.
On top
and
of
it's free.
And it's free. And they give you, if you do really well, you can get some capital for your business.
Seriously.
Right? And then what you do, again, I spoke about this earlier, leverage, right? You take all of the things that you've learned, all of the knowledge and the resources and the education that you learned within EForAll. How do you leverage that now outside of, because EForAll is not going to be the end all be all for you, Aviance.
No, it's not. It's just a stepping stone.
That's just a stepping stone.
Yeah, that's it.
So how do you take what you've been able to accomplish and leverage that for bigger opportunities outside?
Because I'm connecting the dots too. I'm like, wow, I got to set up a system where I can be my own CEO and have my own company and do this work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to be the person who knows the why, not just the how to do it. But there's a saying, what is the one who knows those who know how will always work for those who know why. Isn't that deep? I don't know who said it. I want to quote the person, but I don't know.
I said it.
Yeah. You know who did say it?
I said it.
No.
Curious dad. Hello, mess.
Mess. People are gonna think he sponsored this podcast today.
I'm like, what is this Curious dad guy?
Yeah.
I might have
Can we show a picture maybe while this is being...
Don't worry. I'm going to send him a nice cash app. Hey, we've been promoting you in case you want to...
this angle. Come on, put it up here. Just put his picture up right here.
Move right along.
That's fine.
But yeah, and I look at Jamil. I mean, Jamil was, he was working, he had this job, and at the same time, you launched your business.
Mhm.
You never thought, let me just continue working for somebody forever.
Right?
Oh no,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
And it's not the same. When
Yeah.
you're your own boss, your own CEO, that's really when you can make the biggest stride.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's where I saw my whole life just started to shift.
Yeah.
When I turned that switch from being just a worker or an employee to, to someone who's, in the driver's seat of my own
Yeah.
destiny.
Yeah.
That's when everything just started to switch. Now, mind you, I still work for someone right now. I still have the
Yeah,
9-to-5
right,
job, which
right,
which I'm forever grateful for.
Hey, healthcare benefits.
Healthcare. I mean, it's an
Yeah.
incredible company to work
Yeah,
for.
it is.
They're just great, and I have a lot of flexibility there as well. So they sometimes allow me the space, to be able to do these things, and I've been able to do extremely well outside of my 9-to-5.
Yeah.
So because I know at some point, as much as I love them, I'm not going to be there forever.
Right.
Yeah, and I damn sure don't plan
That's
on
the
working
truth.
for anybody else ever again.
Yeah.
This is it. Like this job that I have this is it for me.
Yeah.
After this it's all on me after this point. You know what I mean? So, but I feel like that I positioned myself, and I've leveraged a lot of the opportunities that's come my way, and a lot of the resources that I've gained, the education that I've learned to be able to when it's time for me to make that shift.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
I'm
could
good.
jump.
Yeah, I'm jumping, and I'm jumping like head first.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So,
You gotta do that. You gotta, wherever you are in life, like you gotta learn the tools and you gotta connect the dots and you gotta figure out a way that you can do better.
word.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this, Juweria, before we wrap up. You are a person who is very resourceful. And I feel that everyone in Buffalo, regardless of what it is that they want to do, you will be a great person. And I know you don't have time to talk to everyone, but you are just a really great resource. So I would really love for our first generation family to know, how can they contact you? I don't know if you want to be contacted, but or what are some resources that's probably out in Buffalo that we probably don't even know about, some gems and treasures or anything like that. So anything that you want to share at all. You are a very good resource.
Number one, they should follow this podcast.
Well,
Say
thank
that.
you.
Y'all heard it. Comment, subscribe. There you go.
Like, share.
Come on. Come on.
Now bring back who we're just talking about.
Yeah.
Who we trying to bring back?
Oh Lord.
Who we gonna bring up next, Jamil?
I wish he.
www. What's the website?
www. Curious Daddy.
He's gonna hate this, and I love it.
God.
Ooh,
Oh my God.
I love throwing his dad in his face.
Oh my God.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. But I mean, I'm a social butterfly. I'm available on LinkedIn, you name it, all the socials, etc. But the reality is, I'm a connector. So if it's not me that's able to support somebody, I'm gonna find someone else that can support them.
Right.
And I think the way that I see it is, I don't look at other people who look like me as my competition. It's not, and that's the biggest toxic issue that we have. We think there's only room for one.
Yeah.
We don't realize that we can all win. And that's how, the tide rises. So we got to get out of that mentality. So for me, it's really just, reach out. Some of the things that I'm really good at, of course, the business side of things now. But when it comes to, design planning, I have a strong arm in that too. My folks in government, the politicians, Jamil, even, I met you, you do a lot. Yeah, you're doing a lot. Listen, all your back end stuff, you know who to call. But just find a way to connect. And I'm going to be there. I mean, I'm a new mom now. I'm a mom for the first time all over again. So give me some grace, if I don't respond back. But my hope is really, as I think you kind of knew this, but like I have a plan. It's a matter of executing that plan. And every opportunity I've had so far is kind of leading up to that for me.
Yeah.
That's good.
But what I've learned in the mix of all of that is you've got to have something that you can call your own, something that you can fall back on. You need to have your own cushion. We don't have that, unfortunately, but we need to build that. Find a side hustle. If you're skilled at something, do it. Just start doing it. There's a way to monetize it. You know what I mean? So I'm still learning. I don't think I know it all. You should never reach that point where you know it all anyway. And if that's the case, then you got to find a new circle, right?
Yeah.
So I'm still learning, but I'm excited about, just having the right people around me, having the right mentors. I have mentors that are older than me and mentors that are younger than me. And there's a reason for that. Because you can learn so much from the young people.
What?
Man, because I can't
They
even
keep
keep
me
up.
young.
Seriously, I
They
cannot
keep
keep
me
up.
young.
That fountain of
Man.
youth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So find that kind of, find that energy and don't be scared to pivot. Like, it's okay to walk away from something and say, you know what, I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to redirect my shit. I'm going to do this in a different way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you'll be hearing some nice announcements from me soon.
Listen,
so
I feel very
I'm
privileged
excited.
that I'm privy to some of these things that might be coming through the pipeline pretty soon. I'm really excited, about some, all of the things that you're doing here, things that's coming.
Yep.
In the near future, and it's only going to be things that's going to be for the betterment, just for you and your family and just our community overall. So I just really look forward to your what's next. Because I know it's going to be a very special what's next.
Yeah.
Thanks for being in my pocket, guys. I love you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks
you're
so
always
much for sharing
welcome
your
back.
story.
Well, listen, Juweria, we thank you so much for just being a light in this world.
Yeah.
You are absolutely a light, and I'm so grateful to call you a friend. You are someone that I look up to, even someone who's a little older than you. But
are you?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I would throw this mic at you. But I absolutely look up to you, and I'm just always in awe of just how amazing you are.
Absolutely.
And our babies are the same age now.
Yes, they are. We're gonna have some play dates soon. So
because the other two are old.
Yeah, they ain't trying to.
No,
right.
I'm a new mom.
New dad over here. But no, thank you so much, Juweria. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you guys for attending and viewing another. Let me start that again. Cut that part right there.
We hope we made them laugh.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you guys again for another episode of We Are the Ones podcast. Make sure that you follow us on all of the major streaming platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're on Audible. I mean, we're all over. Wherever you listen to your podcast, we are there. You hit us up on Facebook at We Are the Ones podcast. Also on Instagram at We Are the Ones podcast. Website coming soon too. It's FYI. Website is coming soon.
New news to
Yeah.
me. Wow.
And last but not least, of course, make sure that you guys follow us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you like, comment. We need that love, y'all. So we appreciate. And for everybody who's been tuning in and leaving those comments, those beautiful comments.
Man, thank you so much.
Thank
the
y'all.
text messages that we get,
it's
I
so
still
amazing.
have to come up with a way to just show you guys like the impact that this podcast has been having. It's been amazing. Thank you guys for the loves.
It's
and
a
the
lot
support.
of love, man. So we
Seriously.
appreciate y'all. Thank y'all again.
So make sure you keep winning on purpose because you're the one we've been waiting for. Thanks for checking out another episode of We Are the Ones podcast.
Make sure you subscribe and listen to our podcast on any of your favorite streaming platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and even on Audible.
And then make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram at We Are the Ones podcast. And make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share. Because remember, you are not just the one. We are the ones.